And naturally, I'm a Tottenham man, obviously. I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
The place is fantastic, the tradition of this club.
To be the manager of 3 cup-winning teams here, I'm so lucky, it's untrue.
Hotspur America podcast, airing every week during the English Premier League season.
What a glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. This great and historic football club.
Down the Tottenham High Road.
Hotspur America, the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Schoolboy's own stuff.
I hate Arsenal, just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! Unbelievable! Wow, this is incredible.
We're the Yids in America.
This is there to tap in. What a fantastic run. He scored! And it's turned home. Eric Dyer.
This is your Hotspur America.
Season 4, episode 29 of the Hotspur America podcast. Vass and Tim are joining me today, but before we get started, as always, the Hotspur America pod brought to you by the Community Beer Company, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. Also, you can find us on social media on multiple platforms, Instagram at Hotspur America Pod, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Spreaker, and of course, iTunes. First order of business, let's introduce the guys on the panel. Tim, how you doing? Super Bowl Sunday?
I am doing great. Tired, but doing great.
My head's still spinning, and I have no idea how we're going to get through this podcast because I still have not been able to put 2 and 2 together for this Liverpool match. Vass also joining us from across the pond over at his lad's apartment and getting ready to watch the Super Bowl as well. Vass, how are you?
Yeah. All good, thanks, Ken. I like the way you said you put 2 and 2 together. No pun intended after today.
Yeah, right. And we are going to talk about 2 very important matches that happened this weekend. Obviously, victory over Man United and this draw today at Liverpool. But before we get started, big shout out to the guy on the pod right now, man. Tim, Lucas Moura is now a Tottenham Hotspur player. Spurs' new number 27.
Yes, he is. I'm excited about it.
We are not.
And you called that a little bit.
You, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of called it in a way. I wouldn't say I called exactly Lucas Moura, but when we did our transfer window preview pod back in, I guess it was December, I just said PSG is a place to look at because of the financial fair play. Sure. And so I thought, it was a chance that we could get someone from PSG, just given the January window, how things go. We weren't going to be in for many players, and this presented a bargain that, of course, Levy is going to jump on. So I'm not ITK. I did not know we were going after Moura. I just said PSG is a place to look, and there were some players there, Moura being one of them who I had named.
Yeah, and we had Di Maria on the list and a number of others that we've been linked to before, but it made sense. This is the perfect attacking style, very flair-oriented midfielder that we've kind of been looking to integrate something like that into the squad. And now when you have him and Lamela and Wanyama and dare I say Llorente, you have some very good attacking options now. And Sissoko, not to leave him out as well, coming off the bench. There's going to be a legitimate fight to be on the bench, let alone in the starting 11, Vass. This is not a bad move at all. No,
not at all. Good to hear that we had a fully fit squad training yesterday with no injuries at all to report. Obviously, some of the guys still need game time, need to get back to match fitness. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Poch's team selection going forward. It's probably going to be the first time he's actually going to be tested, and Moura just adds to the conundrum, really.
Yeah. Do you think he's available for Newport, Tim?
I don't know. I mean, that could be an option. He was back in Paris dealing with some just personal business today, so that's why he wasn't available for the Liverpool match. But I don't know. It depends. I mean, Poch has a very high standard of fitness, and Moura's someone who has only played a total of 80 minutes this entire season. And that's coming off of 6 appearances from the bench for PSG. So obviously he's not match fit. And I don't know if Poch would be willing to throw him in there, but I think Newport, that's a perfect place to do it. Definitely not in the North London derby. Probably not against Juventus. I think that's still a little too early. 1, to regain fitness, but also 2, the bed in, get used to our philosophy, Pacha's style of play, the pressing. It's going to take time for him to get acclimated with all that. But I think Newport could be a perfect place just to throw him in there, get him some minutes, see what he has. I mean, yeah, why not? Yeah. I would like to see that.
I think it bodes well too to maybe give Lamela a start and get him maybe 90 minutes plus, give him a full run out, and maybe Toby. If this is an opportunity on a grass pitch that is immaculate, there's nothing that's going to cause him to take a false step. Unlike the reverse fixture where that pitch was just played on for a rugby match and looked the part. I mean, it was awful. I mean, if the weather's nice and everything looks like it's going well, I wouldn't mind seeing Toby get a shot here as well. Let's get into these two matches, though. Tottenham 2, Man United 0. Ericksen comes back, integrates back into the squad, and puts on a masterclass on how to dominate the midfield right from kickoff. Obviously, the big news, Spurs score inside 11 seconds, second fastest goal in Premier League history. Also happened to be Ericksen's 50th for the club. Only Kane with 124 total has more. But it was an electric start, Vass, when you look at how that starts off. And then Mourinho and the rest of United looked like they just sagged their shoulders a little bit and never looked a prospect.
Yeah, I heard somebody say the other day that it was an even game for about 10 seconds. But, yeah, it was an amazing start. I couldn't have dreamt for anything better, particularly against the Mourinho side, who probably had intentions of, well, I won't say parking the bus, but maybe setting a little bit to contain us and then hit us on the break. I think they threatened a little bit soon after the goal. So for about 5 or 10 minutes, I think Hugo pulled off a save. We were sort of rocking a little bit. But then once we regained our composure and the control on the game, there was no turning back. It was really a sublime performance from everybody. Ericksen was outstanding and proved how valuable he is for us on Wednesday night. And just about everybody played well. And I've been on record on this show to, recently just sort of criticising Trippier's play, for example. And he played magnificently. So
yeah.
It really was a superb performance on Wednesday against Manchester United.
Yeah, full team effort, and in front of a record crowd, 81,978 spectators packed into Wembley, which is an absolute record. Number one on the charts, if you will, for a Premier League attendance. United found themselves, Tim, far too open at the back, far too often, and to Vass's point, we were able to just pick and choose passes. I think that Ericksen had 8 key passes in the game, which was more than the entire, or just two less than the entire United attack for the entire match.
Yeah, I mean, Ericksen being back in this game was crucial. The cohesion he brings to the squad was just sorely missed with his illness. I mean, you look at the 2 games we had without him, 180 minutes against Southampton and Newport, and we only put in 2 goals. Then you come in against United 28 minutes in, and we already got 2 goals. So, I mean, Ericksen made a huge difference in this match. For me, man of the match. And as Vass was saying, trips looked pretty good. I think a lot of that was due down towards Ashley Young being caught out of position a lot. He was very far up the pitch, and when we hit him on the counter, Trips was just there running in open space, and that allowed him to put in that cross, which went in for the own goal for Phil Jones, which
he does get an assist for, by the way.
He does, and Phil Jones got me negative fantasy points for that. But
I think Simon called him the ugliest man in football down the pub when we were watching.
He is pretty ugly.
But you know what? I mean, we could have had 3, 4, maybe even 5 goals on Wednesday against United. We should have certainly had a penalty for the foul on Ali.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It was just...
Go ahead.
Go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say, that's what I was thinking. We could have had so many more, and it just looked like Kane wasn't himself with his finishing. He still played a very critical role in drawing the defenders in him and opening up the game for other players. but his just finishing, it seemed it was a bit off against United. I don't know if it was the hoodoo about trying to get 100 goals, but it also seemed off against Liverpool also today. So
maybe there was nerves for that 100-goal team, and also on the night against Manchester United, Sonny was looking to break a record for scoring in 6 consecutive home games, I think, and maybe that was on his mind. And we ended up in a situation where both players were shooting at any given opportunity when at times there were teammates in better positions. And whilst it's difficult to criticise any player after a performance like that on Wednesday, I thought if I had a tiny moan, it would be just Dele Alli. He worked his socks off, but in the final third, I thought his pass choice and the execution of his passes were just a tad sloppy, where we could have really embarrassed Man United if we'd have been a bit more clinical in the final third. So that's the only minor gripe, but overall I thought it was a terrific performance by the whole team.
Yeah, Tim, one of the underlying stories also was obviously that Sanchez was playing his first Premier League match for Man United, and honestly, we absolutely battered that guy.
That's what I was going to go on about. I like seeing him get the shit kicked out of himself.
And whine every single time he got touched.
All the other
American footballers, I'm telling you.
All the other pundits are putting out these tweets about, it's disgraceful, and all these videos of how many times Alexis just got reamed. But I mean, I love it. We're not a nice team. You saw that at the Battle of the Bridge 2 seasons ago. I mean, we don't play a nice game. Look at Pacha's style when he was a player. He wasn't a nice player. It's very physical, and I don't mind seeing our players, stick that extra leg in there, give someone a kick. As long as they're not getting sent off for it or suspended for accumulation, I'm all about it. Put your stamp on the game. Show people we're not that soft Tottenham that, Fergie talked about. Lads, this is Tottenham. That's not us anymore. So I love seeing Sanchez get the lumps kicked out of him.
I mean, even 4 and 5 years ago, we had a pretty soft underbelly as a club and didn't have this kind of nous that dictated our state of play. And Vass, I know you've been a long-time fan. When was the last time that you recall a team like this that was so hardened during matches that they would play right on that ragged edge all the time, but come out smelling like a rose most of the time?
Long time, Ken. I don't think there's been a team this competitive since the early 80s. So that's telling you how long ago it was.
Wow.
There is really a never say die attitude in the players, and whilst we could probably cite the Man City away game as being a poor performance, generally we compete right to the very end. So Pochettino's got this group working extremely hard, and Tim's right. I mean, it's a reflection of the man himself and the way he used to play. So no arguments there. I see some of the pundits were trying to run the narrative when Ali tripped Sanchez and got his yellow card as to Dele Alli's frustrated and all this sort of talk of petulance and everything else came back. But you know what? Alexis Sanchez, go away. Just keep kicking him.
Yeah, right.
As long as you don't get sent off, I don't care.
And then of course even today in the Liverpool match, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain came off the bench and didn't get all that great of a reception, of course, from the Tottenham faithful that were at that match as well. So as you move forward and you look at the results of what's going on around us, there's been some very advantageous results. Chelsea obviously struggling a little bit right now. Man United, we obviously beat them. So Tim, as you go through this week and you're moving into this Liverpool match, what are you thinking about in terms of where we can be at the end of this? If we can get a draw versus Liverpool, which we ended up doing, hoping for a win, but we got that draw, and then you got Arsenal on the horizon. Is it sky's the limit for us? Obviously we're not going to win the title, but what are you expecting?
I mean, I guess second place is the limit for us, but I mean, it's achievable. It really is. These 2 games this week were probably the most crucial games of the entire season. And I don't want to take anything away from the rivalry and the derby match against Arsenal, But given the position in the table, how things are panning out right now,